Hi everyone, Joe Garth here, creator of Brushify.io. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the Brushify Fantasy Pack. We're going to be going over some of the assets that are included in the pack, and we're also going to be going over some of the tools that you can use to create epic fantasy lands, exactly like this one in Unreal Engine 5. If you like content like this, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and you'll get notifications whenever I put out a new video or a new pack. Alright, let's get started. So this is the Brushify Fantasy Pack example level. This level provides a fully realized playable environment that showcases the assets included in the Fantasy Pack. Once you've installed the pack into an empty project, you can access the example level by going to Brushify, Maps, Fantasy.umap. Be sure to give it some time to allow the engine to compile shaders and assets. This might take a bit of time when you load the map for the first time. You can explore the example map using either first-person or third-person characters. There's plenty of detailed set dressing throughout the level to explore, and additionally, you can see how these areas are constructed within the editor. This allows you to take inspiration from the set dressing when you come to build your own fantasy scenes. To navigate the map, simply use the number keys on your keyboard to jump between the various bookmark sections. The map offers a diverse range of areas for you to explore, including the village, fort, windmill area, and even small camps within the forest. Next, I'm going to walk you through exactly how this map was constructed. At the very core of every Brushify environment is the Brushify Landscape Auto material. This material is applied across the entire playable landscape. It allows for real-time updates as you sculpt the landscape. Procedural foliage automatically populates the environment with objects like grass and rocks. The material includes multiple paint layers, enabling the creation of various biomes beyond just the grassy terrain, such as snowy regions or deserts. It also supports the latest UE5 features, including runtime virtual texturing and nanite displacement. The pack comes with 4 unique alpha brush textures, perfect for sculpting detailed landscapes. You can use the alpha brushes to quickly add mountain details to the playable landscape. All of these features mean that the playable landscape is extremely flexible and can be edited in real time. Beyond the playable area, we have these huge background vistas, and these are created using Brushify's distance meshes. These are pretty much the alpha brushes that you saw before, but in a mesh format, so you can easily place them around the level. This pack also includes a variety of trees and foliage, featuring pine and spruce trees, along with grasses and bushes. Modular rock formations are used to enhance the sides of slopes and create more detail. And these large modular cliff pieces can be used to create more detailed mountains. No fantasy game would be complete without villages and towns for the players to explore. This pack includes several variations of houses, along with a range of typical medieval props to decorate streets, gardens, and interiors. The pack also features an extensive modular fort building system, allowing for the addition of defensive structures. Walls can be placed using splines and can be complemented with gates and towers. Roads and wooden fences can also easily be placed using splines, adding further detail and realism. Significant attention to detail has been given to the set dressing in this example map. In the map, we demonstrate the best practices for utilizing these assets, and we hope that these fleshed out areas will inspire you when you create your own environment. As with all Brushify packs, the lighting in this level is fully dynamic and utilizes lumen. This allows for real-time adjustments to the sun's direction and atmospheric conditions without the need for baking lighting. The pack also includes placeable fog and mist VFX, adding an additional layer of atmosphere to the landscape. Now that we've explored the example map, let's move on to the Asset Zoo. The Asset Zoo is a dedicated level that showcases all the assets included in the pack. Each asset is neatly laid out and accompanied with text labels for the various categories. This layout provides a clear visual overview of the pack's contents, making it easy to locate specific assets without navigating through folders and subfolders in the content browser. Alright, now that you've got a sort of overview of exactly what's included in the pack, we're going to create a sort of small settlement on the main map just to show you how you can use the assets and the tools to create just a little example. We're going to be decorating it with like props and maybe some fences and maybe gardens, that kind of thing, just to make the world feel a little bit more alive. So this is exactly what you'll see when you first open the example map. There's this little village here, and you can see all of the little props and some of the techniques that are used to kind of set dress this area. All the little houses, the gardens, roads, street lamps. And yeah, we're going to basically just go through how I would create a sort of little area like this of our own. And I'll sort of just take maybe an area off to the side here, maybe just to build a little house here in this little empty patch. Just show you, how this really works. All right, so let's go up to the foliage tool, and I'm just going to remove some of these trees here. So to do that, I'm just going to scroll down until I find the trees, select all of those, and then I'm going to make sure paint is selected, and I've got this little paintbrush here. I can now hold down shift and then click, and that'll remove all those trees. So anything that's selected here that you've got ticked, that will be stuff you can add or delete, and that's how the foliage tool works. So now I've done that to the trees, I'm just going to go up and sort of look for maybe these little bushes here. Let's do the same thing there. I'll remove a few of those bushes. I think they're actually up at the top here. Let's just remove all of that. Make a nice little clearing. Just want to get rid of that tree as well. Make a nice little clearing here that we can work with. Let's just delete that too. So we've got some rocks as well. Let's maybe remove those. Anytime you don't know what's been sort of selected here, you can just Control A to select all of them, and you can sort of see if you hover over what's been ticked and what hasn't. So yeah, just use these tick boxes to kind of figure out what's been selected and what hasn't. These little rocks here, we can actually select all of those. So just click and shift select, tick those. Now we can just delete those. And I think there are even some little pebbles on the floor here as well that are just kind of, part of the set dressing. Right, brilliant. So now we've got a sort of blank area. I'm going to actually flatten off this terrain a little bit. So let's go to landscape sculpting mode. Click on the flatten tool. And that's a really big brush size. We don't need it that big. That's a little bit more manageable. I'm going to use the flatten target tool just to flatten to this specific area here. Use the little picker, and I can pick the height that I want to flatten to. And then there we go. Now I've got a nice sort of height of our house, or like where the house is going to be. Nice flat area for it to go. That's a bit of a steep hill, so I'm going to sort of smooth that off a little bit. Smooth everything out, make it look nice and pretty. Right, so now we've got a sort of flat area that I've created. I'm going to start by sort of placing the general position of one of our houses. Pretty much all of the houses that are included have been sort of used in this village here. So maybe we could just simply go into the village here and just click on one. You might have this problem that the mist VFX actually block the clicking of if you want to select an object. If that happens, simply just go to the PFX folder and just disable so that the particle effects aren't triggered when you click on them. And then you can sort of just click on assets. So any assets that you find and you want to sort of duplicate, you can just click on the asset, hold down Alt and then drag, and then you've got the asset there that you can use. The other thing you can do is, of course, in your content browser, if we wanted to find, for instance, something like let's say a house, we can go to Brushify, Design Packs, Fantasy, and then inside of the Buildings folder, you can go into Fantasy Buildings, Geometry, Houses, and there you'll see all of the houses and some of the other stuff that's included, the windmill and everything like that. If we wanted to put down a windmill, we could sort of grab the windmill. There's actually a complicated blueprint for the windmill with blades and stuff that you can kind of set that up and attach. So yeah, you can actually click play and you'll see the windmill actually rotates and stuff too. So pretty much all the buildings here can be very easily sort of placed and set down. And we're going to sort of, let's delete the windmill. Let's just try and find a little house that we can make. Maybe we'll just make actually a nice house, not one that's destroyed or anything like that. So maybe here. Put one there, like that. I think what's cool about this house is it's actually got a sort of little ramp. So it could definitely make use of that little ramp and make it sort of play into the village. You know, maybe it kind of fits in with the road. But maybe a little house there would do. So the ramp kind of goes straight off from the road. If you ever want to change where the sort of road is or paint down any mud, you can easily just go to the selection mode, go to landscape, click on paint, and there it's, you know, basically the typical Brushify auto material with all of its usual paint layers. You can go to the mud layer here, and you can just paint down sort of a little bit of mud. So if we set that to like maybe 200 brush size, we can then paint down mud under there. And you know, that works quite well as well, because you want to, you know, sort of paint down mud over the entire house. Maybe want a bit of grass there, but you'd rather have sort of underneath the house, you know, maybe where these sort of wooden bits hit the floor, you sort of want those to be a bit more gravelly. You can also change the strength, so you don't need to be quite as gravelly as all that. You know, maybe that's a bit too much. So if you just kind of want a little bit of patchiness around these, really sort of artistically blend it in, you can. So it's up to you how strong you want the effect to be. Actually, it looks actually quite good when it's quite strong, actually. You can also, you know, maybe make this a little bit wider and maybe the brush fall off a bit less, and then you can just sort of make a bit more of a gradual fall off that's a little bit less of the grass around that base of the house, and a bit less, because grass, you know, doesn't tend to grow in in places where it's sort of like it can't really get under there. Like, why would there be grass under there? There's no sunlight, so maybe the grass wouldn't be able to grow under there quite as well. So it sort of makes sense to make it a bit more barren. And, you know, whenever you are sort of looking at the set dressing and how to do it, what's really good is if you can take a look at some of the examples that we've got here, like this one or maybe this one, and you can see the sort of different features of these and how they're actually put together. So you'll notice that they have little bushes in the back garden. They've got these kind of crops, which are sort of laid out in rows. You've got the garden fences. So I think what's a good place to start is probably laying out the garden fences. And to do that, we can actually use a blueprint. So all of these garden fences right here are actually little blueprints, and you can change the sort of layout of them, add more points to them, because they're just sort of mesh splines. And most games sort of do it like this. You know, they're sort of just, you know, an easy way of creating sort of you know, spline geometry, and you can make, you know, infinite amounts of fences that way. Just really quick way to lay it all out. I'm just gonna delete a few of the changes that I made there. And then, yeah, so let's place down one of our own. You can go to the content app browser again, or you could just copy one from the other parts of the map. So yeah, you can basically just take one of these fences and copy it. So let's just Alt drag. And yeah, if you do want to know where that's sort of kept, we can go into the details panel. And if you go to open blueprint editor, you'll be able to see the blueprint. This is the blueprint right here. And if you click that little browse button, you can see where this is kept. So it's actually kept inside a prefabs folder right here. It's called BP Fence Creator. So if you just drag and drop that into the world, that will give you a completely blank sort of starting point fence, you know, which you can use to just sort of, yeah, start to create a garden wall. So I think our garden should probably go from about there, and we'll probably want it to maybe go a bit further around. So let's take this, sort of carefully place it here. Okay, great. Then I want to take the next point, and I just want to Alt and drag, and then again Alt and drag, and then so on. We can sort of create a little bit of a fence. And later we're going to go along and we'll tidy it up a little bit with the height as well, because we want the fence to kind of match Let's make a nice curve there. So yeah, now we've got a sort of basic garden wall around our house. Let's move that up a little bit. I just want to make the bottom not clipping in there. So yeah, perfect. And yeah, now I guess we can look again at one of our examples and see what else we can put. So we've got these little crops sort of here in the garden. So let's just place a few of those down. Alright, so let's go for some of these little crops. I'm pretty sure they were placed as foliage. So let's go to foliage mode. Just actually double check that, but pretty sure they are. Yeah, they're just sort of drop down foliage that you can kind of place in lines. So let's go Control A and make sure everything's unselected in here. So we're not painting down any rocks or anything crazy. And then I'm going to choose S crops 1 and S crops 2. So we're going to paint down both of those. Click on paint. And if I click now, you'll see it just fills it with random stuff, but we don't really want that. We want to sort of paint them in lines. And so the way to do that is we'll take a really small brush size, like 50, and then we kind of just do this. So now you can see we've got kind of lines of crops. And they're a little bit uneven. The smaller you make the brush size, the more even they'll be. But yeah, I'd say 50 is probably about right. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect. This is a medieval garden after all. It's not like they're master agricultural workers here, putting them in sort of robot patterns. But yeah, they're sort of just evenly distributed in lines. Okay, good. It kind of looks like they're in lines there. Farmer's done a decent job of planting those. I'm going to make the entire of the inside of the garden actually mud texture. So yeah, back to there, and let's change the brush size. Let's make all that mud, because you want to have sort of, you know, all of the crops are planted in a sort of soil rather than, you know, grass. If I check out the other example as well, you can see there's some parts of the garden that are, you know, kind of grassy and bushy, and then other parts are kind of more the agriculture. So maybe we could actually take one of these lines of plants here and get rid of that. Maybe just this area around here. Yeah, just get rid of that, and then maybe we can make this little area here a little bit more of a gardeny, overgrown bit. Right, like here. So that's got a bit more. Yeah, a little bit more grass. And then we could even put some of those bushes down. Let's just delete these. Control A, make sure nothing's selected. Let's see. Maybe we get some of these little bushes here. Let's see how that looks when I place them. Probably I could place a few of them like around here. Maybe the big one too if I want. So maybe I'll want a little bit smaller on my brush size. But that makes it look a little bit more lived in, doesn't it? Now it's a bit more overgrown. Looks a bit more like they've got an actual garden there. That bit of grass there is really annoying me, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to sort of change that bit to more mud. Okay, perfect. That's looking a lot better. Right, what else do we have to add to our little medieval house here? Let's have a look at the example again. Probably, yeah, you've got some wooden stuff going on, like lumberjack stuff. You've got some little crates as well, so we can also sort of maybe copy one of these crates. And we can maybe place one of these guys somewhere. Where's a good place to put a crate? If I was a farmer, where would I put it? Probably at the back. Maybe that's where I keep my cabbages in storage before I go off and sell them at the local market. Because that's what I do, because I'm a medieval farmer. Obviously. Let's put down this crate here. So that's sort of just a nice little... It's quite generic way of placing crates, isn't it, really? That's the way I'm doing it now. You can tell I've done this before, I think. But yeah. Yeah, something like that. And then maybe we could find something like a barrel So really good thing is once you've already got a scene that's created, you know, like this example scene here with this whole village, you can just nip into the village and sort of find props that are already existing in there. You know, there's no need to sort of trawl through the content browser endlessly, you know, trying to sort of search for things. Although if you do want to, you can just click the static mesh filter, and then you can just go through the whole thing and you can see everything, you know, cartwheels, carts, campfire, you know, every prop that's in there, rocks, fences, platforms, everything. But, you know, the great thing about having the scene is you can just dip in, find your asset that you really need or something that inspires you, and then use that in your own little section. So let's put a couple of those there as well. That's starting to look a little more lived in. Now, one thing I've noticed is this blank wall here. This wall does look a little bit boring. There's not much going on there. So maybe we could take inspiration from somewhere else where there's sort of something that's covered up that wall. Ah, this is perfect. So they actually have a little tree here by this house, which I think looks quite nice. So one single tree can kind of help to break up any monotony in the building. So if I just take that tree, copy it, let's bring this across to our little house. And let's give these guys a little tree that makes it a little bit more interesting, because that wall looks boring without any windows and stuff there. There we go. Maybe a bit further back. Like that. Alright, cool. So now there's a shadow on there, and it's got a little bit more of something to break up the lines. I think maybe we could also put a little lumberjack section on this side. Let's take inspiration from this area here. We've got these sort of wood piles. Okay, so we're going to move those across. And let's pile them up by the side of the thing here. I don't want everyone to be a lumberjack, but you know, maybe they were building this house and or they may be using it for something else, but it's just sort of an obvious thing for anyone to have, and if they live in a medieval village. Maybe I'll put it over there actually. Let's put it like this. Right, great. And then maybe something else from the lumber. Copy one of these axes and this thing. Throw that across. Quickly just grabbing objects and then, you know, rotating them and using them in different parts of the level. Okay, great. So there's a little lumberjack area too. This is starting to really feel like, you know, just another house in the village now. Yeah. Now, to make it feel more like it's sort of part of the forest, if you notice all the other houses have kind of got this forest kind of encroaching on them, what we can do is we can actually just place some of these trees. If we go to foliage mode, we can place some of these trees. Just going to make sure I deselect everything. Let's place some of these trees around. So that's a bit too much density there. If you have too much density, just lower the density right here and painting. I'll change it to like 5. Maybe make this a little bit bigger too. How's that, 1,000? Still too dense. Make that like density 0.1. There we go. Now it looks a little bit more like the forest is coming around our house. If you ever get any that are clipping through, you can always delete them. I don't think I see any, so it seems fine. And then, yeah, if you ever see that there's just these trees that are on their own, what's really good is if you can just cover those with bushes. So usually I'll try to, you know, go close to any trees like this and make sure they don't feel like they're lonely. They need a few bushes around the base of them. And that's sort of just a typical trick, you know, to make it feel a bit more like it's part of the landscape. So yeah, now we've got our little house, and I don't think it took very long. I think it took only, you know, what, 10 minutes to dress a little area like that. Obviously it does take a while to do set dressing, but once you have a sort of system and a sort of way of building things, and you know sort of how things should be used and what they should be used for, no, it doesn't take very long at all. So yeah, that's our little medieval village house. Another thing I'm sure you guys will be really interested to find out about is how to create sort of walls like this one. And the way that these are placed it's actually done using spline meshes. So in order to access that, you can go to landscape, go to manage, and then go to splines. And then you can actually see how this is put together. So if you click on that little spline there, you can move the spline around, and you can actually duplicate the spline. And this is how you create sort of new wall sections. So if I delete some of these segments here, it can be quite tricky to sometimes see the splines because they're quite small. But yeah, we can delete segments and attach them. Maybe instead of doing this, let's go to the end of one of these just so we can create a new example. Let's delete this little tower here, and then we'll extend this wall, because I think that's a good way to sort of show, you know, how this is done. So instead of the wall going that way, let's carry on the wall through the wilderness. You know, maybe it's an even bigger wall, because I mean it reaches this sort of natural stopper here, but imagine if it would just carry on. So you can create the walls like this. If you extend it too much, it'll just create new pieces of it, and it'll sort of create little broken parts of the wall as well. So it's sort of doing this sort of automatic set dressing. And if there's ever any point where you want to change, for instance, a part of the wall, so you want this part right here to not have, you know, sort of that mesh. If you wanted maybe an intact wall, you can always take the broken wall rubble out of the equation. So you could just delete that one, and then now you're not using that in the rotation anymore. So you won't have any sort of broken piece there. You know, in case you just really want like a fully fledged functional wall that actually keeps people out, which is generally what walls are for. All right, so that's pretty much how you create these sort of fort walls, and yeah, you can basically just, you know, extend it as far as you like. It's just the same sort of similar tool to the fence blueprint, but it's actually just using the landscape splines. So you don't really need a blueprint for that. And then, of course, you know, you're able to place towers and stuff. Let's, for instance, just grab one of these towers. Yeah, this one. Can't really be bothered to go through the asset browser finding them. Let's just grab one of these towers, and then, yeah, you can kind of, you know, put this at the end of the walls, or, you know, sort of conveniently place them wherever you need to put them. So yeah, that sort of caps off areas like that. Yeah, and then of course you could also stop and start this landscape spline, you know, wherever you'd want to have, for instance, a tower. So, you know, you can kind of go into the spline here. So if I want to put a tower like there, and I really need a gap that goes sort of there, we can go into the landscape, go into splines, delete the spline there, take this end, push it into that wall, take this one, just got to go underneath sometimes to select the splines, it can be a bit touch and go, and then put that one to that one, and then now you can see there's now a, you know, got to make sure that nothing clips. There's a little bit of clipping there. Find that one. Where's it gone? It can be a pain to find these little helpers sometimes, but yeah, now I can just slot it in. Okay, brilliant. And then now I've got sort of perimeter walls going around. And really, this is it. This is how you build sort of an entire sort of fantasy kingdom. You can just use these tools, repeat these techniques, and yeah, you'll also find this world is pretty massive. So there's this whole village section here. We've got up on the hill here a little area with a sort of windmill and a little house. The windmill even obviously works. You can actually see the windmill spins and everything. The fog's always sort of rolling over the landscape as well. Create some nice atmospherics. Trees all move in the wind. And really, this is all intended to be sort of just the basis for, you know, a medieval fantasy RPG. I mean, it's just something that you can create. You can sort of use as a foundation, and then you can build off of. You can go into here and see how everything is done. There's also a fort area here, which is a bit like Edoras from Lord of the Rings, sort of inspired by that sort of thing. And then, yeah, on the top you can find a sort of, it's actually a little area with a little sort of river bit or pool. Not really a river, it's more like a pool well thing. Yeah, I think I really love this area here with these kind of wooden sticks that go down the mountain. There's like broken parts where, you know, this once was a path, but now it's sort of destroyed. So there's really just a lot you can explore in the example map, and you know, you can go into the forest and sort of find things as well. You can see, you know, what's actually been done and get a feel for it. But the idea was just to sort of for us to build, you know, a small example map that has some elements of a medieval kingdom. It's a few square kilometers across, so it's not huge, but it's, you know, it's a couple of towns for you to explore and areas, and it's really up to you then to sort of take these assets and implement game mechanics and see where you take it next. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you like content like this, be sure to subscribe by clicking the little subscribe button down below, and then you'll be able to get updates when new packs come out on my channel. And yeah, that pretty much covers everything from my side. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Ciao.